Welcome to the MS&Me Radio Network. The broadcast shows are for informational and entertainment purposes only. They are not designed to provide listeners with specific personal, medical, or counseling advice. Individuals with a medical issue should always consult their healthcare provider. MS&Me is not responsible for content of individual shows. The views expressed by show hosts or the guests are their own. Enjoy the show.
Hi, this is Dawn Melanie. Welcome you all, and thank you for joining me today for another episode of my series titled Managing Self. Today is rather special for me. Today is September the 11th, 2018. Because this is a special day, I figured I wouldn't script out a whole lot of the program that I'll admit I try to do generally, because I know that when I do that, it's oftentimes less stressful for me to deliver a complete program to you, or shall I say, to script out what I'm going to say, and it kind of puts me in a safety net of like for me feeling like, okay, where am I going, and kind of lose my place as far as a diagram or flow chart. You know, I don't like the joddiness or a non-logical method of delivering. So sometimes I do like to script it out, but today I want to do it more naturally and just kind of talk. So, like I said, I generally like to script it out, and like I said, I just did and I apologize for that, because when I do that, I have less tendency to do that and say less ums and less uhs and all that kind of stuff there. But even though I say this, I say that, I do know better. I'll say just as many uhs and ums, even if I script this out. So why am I so adamant about more or less freely talking today, as opposed to following a more scripted program? It's easy. Yesterday marked my 20th year anniversary since the onset of my MS symptoms, which predominantly included stuttering. Ironically, stuttering was very prevalent. That was one of the main things that that challenged me. I didn't know what was going on, and I recall it was very prevalent, so prevalent that my friends gave me the nickname Shakes. And I said that my friends called me Shakes. They well, first of all, I guess I want to say I say my friends. People say your friends. Your friends call you that. I said, well, you know what? Yeah, because they weren't acquaintances that were kind of poking fun of me, or I don't look as poking fun of me as much as they were making light of the situation, and they probably followed my lead because I laughed at it. And there was situations where my hands would just shake uncontrollably. I would throw pens at people, and not intentionally, of course, but pens would fly out of my hand uncontrollably when I was signing my signature and things like that. So I laughed at it. I thought it was kind of funny. It's easier to laugh than cry. So I laughed, and my friends, they more or less followed my lead. So my friends are the ones who called me Shakes. People who were acquaintances and didn't know me, they did not. No, most of these friends were actually co-workers, and like I said, but they were more than just co-workers. They were friends, because we had grown on a personal level. I mean, at first they thought that I was quote unquote faking, or I had one girl tell me I was hypochondriac. All that's not going on, but whatever. Again, my friends, they called me Shakes. I thought it was okay. I still sometimes today go by that name, Shakes. It was pretty funny. I remember I would shake pretty much like a leaf. When the intention tremors hit me, I'd say, give me 10 seconds. I meant that's what I said. Give me 10. I said that, requesting that, everybody kind of pause for 10 seconds. And it happened a lot, probably over 100 times a day. I documented it, so that's why I know. But that's what I said when the tremors started. And unfortunately, that's when the tremors continued. They continued from 5 to 10 seconds at a time, and it's like someone was pressing what's that thing, Atari, the joystick with the little button, the red button. It's like somebody was playing a joke on me, and they were pressing the Atari red button for rapid fire. Like, they kept pressing over and over again. And, you know, what I mean is, that was the stuttering, or the shakes that I would go through. But it was like, okay, this is like a joke being played on me, or should I say a game being played on me. And that little red button was like, I look at that little red button on the joystick as someone, or not someone, but MS, which I found out it was MS later. I felt like it was like that was what was depressing these intentional tremors that were occurring, that I was experiencing throughout the day. And, you know, I'm like, okay, I can handle it. You know, I still do, unfortunately. I still have tremors. But, you know, back then, I didn't know what was going on. Today, I do know what's going on. Like I said, I still have the tremors, and I know what not to do because of that. Like, I know not to hold a cup of hot liquid with my right hand, only my right hand. You know, basically never hold anything that's fragile with only my right hand. That's because that's the side that has been affected predominantly since the onset of MS. I laugh because some people say, you know, keep your friends close and your enemies closer. And they also say, don't let your right hand know what your left hand is doing. Well, then and still to this very day, my left hand is always privy to the actions of my right hand. And more or less vice versa. Okay, so when I, when I said I know better, I was referencing my understanding that I don't understand MS. I know that I don't understand it all. Instead, I was pointing out the fact that I do understand me. Thus, I talk about managing myself. I know how MS has reared its ugly head in my life. And yes, oftentimes, it's been when I least expect it. So, because I know it can act up, that this can yield a flare up, or not just act up by a symptom, an acute symptom, like something you may happen for like a day and go away. But I mean worse. I know that when the MS when MS acts up, in my book, probably many of you out there understand as well, we're talking about a clinical exacerbation. And that's more than just an acute one-time symptom. An exacerbation is basically an increase in severity of a disease or any of the signs or symptoms of that disease. So, an increase, in severity, that lasts more than a day, more than 24 hours. Because this is probable under, or when I'm experience it real. When I experience some of my triggers, like heat and stress, I'm cautious handling the fragile items. Glasses, bowls, hot items, things like that. But my husband, it's so funny, he always encourages, baby, you gotta be careful. And, I understand his level of concern because, who wants broken glass and stuff everywhere? So, I know it sounds like baby talk, but considering that I do have a dexterity challenge at times, I understand. And I also understand his concern when, I may be in the kitchen at the stove. I'm probably handling several pots on the fire, 2 or 3 at once, and also using my favorite knives. I love knives. I've got over my fear of them, so I love my knives. And I guess that's kind of how it all began. Or should I say, the knives or the tools, those are what implemented my greatest shift. My shift. My MS, my shift. The knives kind of implemented my greatest shift. And when I say my greatest shift, I'm talking about the one that occurred not 20 years ago, but actually 13 years ago. That's more or less when I exited the workforce. And ironically enough, it's pretty much to this day. Actually, this day. It was the second week of September 2005. After Hurricane Katrina, I lost contact with my mom and my dad. The power went down, and they had no way to charge their flip phones. And I'm not talking garbage about their phones because I had one too. But the point is, my last conversation with my mom was when I was on my way to work to meet a client. And my mom told me that the house was breathing and the ceiling in the den had just collapsed, dumping water on the floor, inside the house where it's supposed to be outside of the house. So I believe this is pretty much when Katrina was hitting landfall. I know she didn't want to alarm me and urged me to go to work, which I did. I went to work anyway. And I remember I was in a meeting. I stepped out for a moment and I called my parents for a status update, but I didn't get an answer. And I returned to the meeting, and one of the managers said in a very exclamatory voice, "Dawn, what did you do?" And I said, "What?" I was more or less puzzled by her comment. Raising an eyebrow. What are you talking about, Sharon? But my response was actually, that wasn't good enough. I'm like, what did I do? But she wanted more. She wanted more from me. She looked at me. She was like looked me dead in the eye. I was like, boom. Look at me in my eye. Then she quickly turned her head and looked at my hand. Then she looked at me in the eye again. She did it again for a couple times. Back and forth. And landed, with that stare in my eyes. And I'm like, what? And I was like, oh, I see. One of my fingers was dripping blood on my hand. And I felt nothing. I didn't feel a thing. So I thought, no big deal. Paper cut. Those things aren't very deep. Just more or less superficial. They sting, but I didn't feel it. So I'm like, well, yeah, whatever. I got work to do. I didn't feel it. So whatever. So I just always like, I'm in my zone, I'm in my work zone, trying to get this stuff taken care of, and no big deal. Oddly, later that night, I was cutting a lime, and guess what? I felt the sting. Whew. Can we say ow? A lime in a fresh wound, it hurts like, HE double hockey sticks, shall I say. Anyway, that burning sensation was extreme. And again, I was thinking, well, I felt that. So it wasn't, so whatever. So I'm like, okay, there's the clumsiness of the MS. So, I'm cutting myself. I'm cutting myself. I don't feel it. Whatever. MS does that. So, I move on with life. I'm not letting this slow me down in the stuff that I do. But nonetheless, I did have another mishap with another knife. And after that, I remember giving it to my fiance's request. He's like, no more knives for you. Whatever. But I did use knives with modifications. I'm like, okay, seriously, no more knife use for me? But I think it's advice. And, I modified just like I have with so many things in life. I don't go bike riding anymore, 100 miles in the sun, but I do work out in the gym for hours. I can't just be overheated, and I'd rather work out in a temperature-controlled environment. So with the knives, I had to make a modification. So I went to a little pharmacy, mom and pop pharmacy, and I got the cutest little small utility knife. It's like a utility knife or a paring knife. I don't know. It's small and cute. It has a red rubber handle, and I can grip it pretty well, so I don't lose my grip so much. But it was funny because my mom took it to the next level. When she came out to Texas after Hurricane Katrina, she saw that I was having problems with the knives, and she went ahead and got me this little rocking doohickey gizmo that had double bladed, and you rock it back and forth on a bamboo semicircle bowl thingy to cut stuff. So I wouldn't cut myself. I'm literally rocking the blade to cut the product. So great, kind of genius. Thanks, Mom. I appreciate it. But guess what? I didn't really use it much then, and I damn sure don't use it now. But thanks anyway. I have since moved on. I've graduated, Mama, and I use, with a passion, a very, 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 I know how very, believe me, a very sharp knife. It's a chef knife that my husband gave me as a Christmas present. It's almost as sharp as, let's see, the meat cleaver that I think I got earlier, maybe for a birthday present. I don't know. I just know that I know. I know that I should never use either of these said tools all willy-nilly, a term coined by my husband. He's always like, baby, don't go using those knives all willy-nilly. That's how accidents happen. And he's right. But baby, I want to have fun. That's my pretty much stock response. To which he reminds me, you can have fun. But he encourages me to have fun, but with my my PPE or personal protective gear or whatever you call it. I don't know, worked for a railroad, so I had PPE. Anyway, my personal protective gear or equipment is it isn't a hard hat and safety goggles like I had when I worked for the railroad as an archer, guys. I wasn't on the train, but I'm talking about my Kevlar gloves so that the knife can't cut my hand. It kind of prevents it. Pretty much, I'd say 90-something%. Nothing's 100%. Believe you me, I've managed to cut the Kevlar glove. Anyway, when things get spicy, my husband he has me using these latex gloves, and I put those underneath the Kevlar gloves for protection. So I don't want the juices to get on my hand and just kind of, I don't know, lay there for a while in case if I rub my eyes or something like that, it's going to burn. So, I use double protection, the Kevlar gloves over the latex gloves if I'm cutting something super spicy like jalapenos, serrano peppers, onions, tomatoes. Yeah, I'm thinking salsa, but I'm gonna move on. I'm not gonna start talking about food today. Not food. Even though it's funny how I'm talking about the jalapenos and salsa and things like that. And again, here's a prime example of I know not to use gloves and stuff. I know not to use knives all willy-nilly, and I know not to get overheated unnecessarily. I know what makes me happy, and that's food. So I apologize for talking about the food, but that is kind of one of my heat and fatigue are my triggers. So heat and fatigue both are triggers for my MS. On the other side of the coin are the things that suppress or temporarily deactivate, have my MS symptoms remain latent for a while. It's things that I know, and pretty much all of them start with F. This time the F is food. It's ironic. Here I am telling you how I have to think twice about using a knife because it can cut. It has cut. I've cut off a piece of my third knuckle on my right hand. Not cut off the knuckle, but sliced off a very thin layer of the knuckle. Barely touched the knife. It was so sharp. And I've also cut off a fingernail when I didn't have my Kevlar glove on. So it's my fault, and I didn't take precaution. But I just point this out that, even though day to day, MS has affected me, has modified I've had to make modifications in my life pretty much from day one. And like I said, it started with day one with the shaking back 20 years ago, because I was shaking. My hands were, I was like, seriously, what's going on? But it's funny because back then it was my hands and how I had to figure out how to use my hands or not use my hands so that it wouldn't be as dramatic or as drastic. And 13 years ago, again, my hands using knives, I had to make modifications, get different tools so that I could, cut stuff myself confidently and safely. The modifications, all that. It's funny. A lot of it related to what food. I said I don't know everything about MS, but I do know me, and I do know what I need to avoid or stray away from, and that's doing things without thinking, and things that I know is going to trigger my MS. But also know I should. It would behoove me if I would do more of the things that make me feel better, even though I have MS. And one of those things is food. Food. Favorite is probably food. And that's why, I'm talking about all the food, jalapenos from our garden here at home, serrano peppers, onions, salsa. I love food. I love fresh food. And knives are usually around when there's food. So There's my tie in case you guys go, where is she going with this? Yeah, that's where I'm going. Okay, so food, F. One of my other things that I know helps me feel better dealing with MS is fun. 2 weeks ago, I think I mentioned in the last program or so. I know, but 2 weeks ago, I believe I went to the movies and I watched the musical South Pacific. Today, I went to I went to the theater. I don't know, I say movie theater. I went to the theater and I watched The Sound of Music, on the big screen. And that's probably my second favorite musical. Maybe it's a tie between Sound of Music and The Phantom of the Opera. I love that. I love The Phantom of the Opera. And some of you listening today, if you, let's say millennials, maybe younger, you may find, or maybe somebody as old as I am, or perhaps even older, you may find that my movie choices are odd. I don't generally go to the theater to see the top current box office hits or whatever you call them. I'm actually getting pleasure from watching the old school stuff and things like that. So it's weird because I was in denial that I even like to watch such stuff. And everybody's running around singing. The entire cast is singing. They just can't engage in normal dialogue. But they have to sing everything. And on top of that, they got to dance around, all choreographed. Really? How silly is that? Anyway, I've accepted it. I am over 40. I've accepted that. I like it. I like it a lot. So that's why today again I went at a 2 o'clock, a 2 p.m. performance. I went alone, but that was something that I enjoyed, just a relaxation time. Which we all need. I encourage you all to do something for yourselves and relax. Oh, just how those Von Trapp kids would sing. Doe, a deer, a female deer. Okay, that's all. I won't sing anymore. But it's funny, I can't sing that song, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, without getting happy. Something about it just makes you happy. And with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and give you guys my challenge of the week right now instead of waiting until the absolute end. I often talk about choices and decisions. We make decisions yada yada every day, everything we do. Well, at every opportunity that I have to sing that song, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, that song, I get happy. Literally happy. It boosts my mood, literally. And my challenge to you guys this week is to listen to music that you enjoy, and hopefully music that will boost your spirit, your mood. If you're feeling low, maybe there's something like this. This always makes me feel happy. Today it's ironic. I often listen to music to make me happy, but I also listen to music and I may hear a message that's being said from the music. But this song, like I said, makes me happy. And it's ironic because today I was at the gym and a lady walks up next to me and gets on the treadmill, and she asked me, "How does this work?" I'm thinking, seriously? You press start and walk. But she was an older lady, she wasn't accustomed to the new equipment. Our gym flips over new equipment quite often, so different fancier buttons on the treadmill, very fancy. And she asked, and after talking to her, I was like, really? This lady had not worked out in over a year and a half. Yet she had a membership, and the membership isn't cheap. And I was like, so you've been paying this whole time? She goes, yeah, I've been paying, but I hadn't come. Well, it's ironic because, she is paying probably, like I said, paying quite a bit to go and didn't use the facilities. And she just so happens to walk up to me and ask me that. And we started talking and etc. I helped her, encouraged her to get back. She had just got recently diagnosed with bronchitis and high blood pressure, very high, different medical ailments. And I took the time, no big deal, to help her get acquainted with our new equipment and things like that. And the irony is, she's a music director in her church. Here I am talking about how music. I take messages from music all the time, and I listen to music. Pardon me. I listen to music to make me happy, and also I'll take a message from music and apply it to my life. A lot of times it's to be more happy or less sad, shall I say? But like I said, the irony is, music. Music. I believe scientifically. I'm not gonna say for sure, but it's been said that music heals. Music is I think it's like a universal language, and it heals. So, I listen to music to get happy or less sad. And ironically, I speak to a musical director in her church, and when we finished, before we left, she started crying, and I said, wait a minute, that's a bummer. I made you cry, and her crying were tears of joy, and she gave me a hug. She said she's not a hugger. I said neither am I, but we gave each other a hug, and she told me that because of she had just prayed about it, and she asked God, I'm in a really difficult situation right now, and I have to make a change, and I'm not sure how it's going to be done, and I'm going to start. And lo and behold, she runs into me, and we later exchanged numbers, and she called me her new gym rat friend. Okay, but yeah, it's ironic because, like I said, music, all these things go on. Here I am struggling with MS. I didn't tell her until later. I listened to her story, and then I briefly told her about mine, and I'll expand later. But the point is all this is going on in my life. I'm like, oh man, 20 years of MS, yada yada yada, and the things I've gone through. And by the way, ironically, MS never stops. It never stops. I thought I was doing good. I thought I was doing really good, but ironically, just before I walked into the gym, I got a call. My recent MRI that I had 2 days ago, it was fine. There were no changes detected at all, and furthermore, which is great. So 8.5 years, no lesions or anything like that. Again, I know, or I knew. No, I do. I know. That's present tense. I know that everything's going to be okay. My faith is strong, and that's my. I was joking. They're all F words that I use as my elements to help me manage myself, to manage my MS. I oftentimes say, food, faith, friends, family, fun. Oh, of course, and fitness. And here's a perfect example of what happened today. Wasn't planned, just sort of happened. Is going to the gym. What I do on a regular basis, I go to the gym. I'd say that's the fitness part of it. I meet someone who actually referred. When she texted me, she referred to me as her new fitness friend. So her new gym rat friend, I believe is the term she said. So here I am. I made a new friend, and we talked about doing fun things. Kind of how to make the gym less of a burden, or where you want to go there. Like I told her, I said, you know what? I said you came in. Congratulations. After 1.5 years of not being here, even though you paid, and that's a big step, because I said, you know what? No one ever says and that's when they're leaving the gym. They never say, "Man, I wish I hadn't done that," or "Boy, I wasted my time there." They will say, "Man, I'm glad I went." They usually feel better. They feel something they've accomplished. Say it was her first day back in over a year and a half, and she had some difficulties. Like I said earlier, but she has bronchitis, so breathing issues and the blood pressure, and so it was an accomplishment for her to get through today, and she actually worked out because we were talking a little bit longer than she probably had planned to walk. So that's I think good. I didn't push her. I let her kind of feel what was okay for her, being her first time to do anything in over a year and a half. I do thank you for listening again. This is Dawn Melanie, and I hope you have a wonderful, blessed week. Hope you join me next week for another episode of Managing Self. Thank you.